Welcome to today's webinar, Culture of Quality, Why a Quality Culture is More Important in 2022 Than Ever, and How You Can Create One, sponsored by ETQ. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief for Quality Digest and your host for today's webinar. Only 46% of organizations indicate that quality values are consistently applied in their organization, according to a recent Forbes survey. Quality teams recognize the value of an organization-wide quality culture, but a lot of them struggle with creating one. So today, we will be hearing from Hong Su, Vice President of Quality at Kaiser Aluminum. Hong is going to tell us a little bit about Kaiser Aluminum's journey, and along the way, we're going to learn why a culture of quality is important, how Hong and his team work to create a strong culture of quality at Kaiser Aluminum, how you can build a culture of quality, why quality data and metrics are important, and why investing in quality management systems and processes can help support your organization's culture of quality. Before we get started, as I said earlier, just a reminder that you can send us questions using the Q&A box. You can find the Q&A button in the bar down at the bottom of your screen. Send your questions to us as you think of them, and we will answer them at the end, as many as we can. A recording of this webinar will be available one day after the webinar. Also important, if you need a certificate of attendance, which some of you said you did, you will need to answer at least one of the two polling questions presented during the webinar. So keep your eyes open for those. It'll be pretty obvious. Okay, today's presenters are Hong Su, Vice President of Quality at Kaiser Aluminum. We're really happy to have him here with us today. Hong has worked for over 25 years in the aluminum, automotive, and medical device industries with professional and executive experience in engineering and manufacturing, quality and continuous improvement, and export compliance. Also with us is Nina McIntyre, Chief Marketing Officer at ETQ. Nina is responsible for all aspects of marketing strategy, planning, and execution at ETQ. She brings more than 25 years of operational and executive leadership experience in high-growth tech businesses from startups to public companies. And finally, we have David Isaacson, Senior Director of Product Marketing at ETQ. David has more than 25 years experience in software product marketing and product management. David has successfully brought software as a service products to market for a variety of industries and high growth companies. And David, I believe you are starting us off.
Thank you, Dirk, and welcome to everybody on the webinar today. It's exciting to see everybody with us, and I'm really excited to have Hong and Nina joining us today for this discussion on culture of quality. Before we get into the details, I'm just going to give a quick introduction on ETQ, just give everybody a quick overview of what we do, and then we'll get into the details of the discussion with Nina and Hong. But just to give you a quick understanding of who ETQ is, we provide quality management systems, and we've been doing this for over 29 years now, providing customers with the right tools to manage their quality management. It is a very broad portfolio of capabilities that we provide. Won a lot of awards over the years. If you go out there and look at what we provide, it is truly a cloud native and agile platform. And what that really means is that we make sure that our customers are not only working on what they have to do today, but are really set up to be agile and adaptable for the future. It's a bit of future proofing as you start to think about your quality journey and move through managing quality at every stage of the product life cycle. We are headquartered in Boston. We serve customers around the globe, and we serve them in a very set of diverse organizations and different industries. And that's really critical because we're able to bring best practices from a broad range of organizations to our customers. So you have access to cutting edge quality management capabilities and processes. And we have not only do we have a broad range of industries, but we also support customers from very small up to very large. And in a moment, I'll give you a brief peek at some of the customers who use ETQ to manage their quality. But before that, I just want to talk about what our belief statement is. And it really is allowing our customers to take a differentiated and a a really agile approach to quality management, to be really competitive in your industries. We have a solution that you can make your own. You don't have to follow our preset approaches to quality. It's really what makes you unique and how do you take advantage of quality in your industry, for your business, for your customers, for your employees. Now, as I said, we do support a very broad range of different industries and different customers, and you can see that they span the gamut here, from manufacturing to consumer goods to food and beverage to life sciences, medical devices, electronics, and so forth. So it's a pretty broad set of capabilities for a very broad set of customers, and we're able to bring this all together and share these best practices between customers, and that's really a key value that ETQ brings to the market. Now, with that, I'd like to turn it over to Nina, who's going to start to talk about the culture of quality.
And I was muted. Thank you, David. I'm thrilled to be here, and most of all, I really appreciate you're joining us, and I want to thank Hong again for joining us. We have a great session, and I think it's a very important and super relevant topic. So it's just a pleasure to be here. First question, what is a culture of quality? This is an important part of what we're talking about today, and David's going to be advancing my slides for me here. A culture of quality really starts with a common language, a common set of goals, a common way of talking about your goals, and a common way of endeavoring to meet your market need, to fulfill your objectives, to serve your market. Those goals need to be built around shared values. Like any culture, shared values are an incredibly important part of how you build a cultural understanding around your goals and your cultural values, what it is you're endeavoring to do and how you go about doing them, the values, those need to be embodied throughout the organization. And I'm sure most of you understand this. These are principles that many of us have been trained on. However, it's hard to do. It's not something elusive. A culture of quality is not necessarily elusive. A culture of quality can be built. And I'm really excited for you to hear from Hong about the work he's done over the last 20 years at Kaiser Aluminum. And among our customer base of over 600 customers, I think his story is really quite compelling. So it's thrilling to tell that story and for you to hear him tell that story. But it's, I say a culture of quality is not elusive. It's real, it can be built, yet it's so hard to do. On this next slide, you can see that Forbes study. The Forbes study showed that only 46% of organizations indicate that quality values are consistently applied. So, it's well understood what it is, but yet less than half of our organizations would say that they consistently apply quality values. So that actually gives me an occasion to put up our first poll question, because I'd like to ask you, how about your organization? Are shared values something that are consistently applied throughout your organization? Please click either yes or no. It's just a very simple question. And in a moment, what we'll do is share with you the answer. I'm quite curious if we're at about that 40 or 50% mark. I know a number of you, in submitting questions in advance of today's session, indicated that it's something you're aspiring to do in the coming year. So I'm thinking perhaps when we see our results here, we'll see that it's work you guys are investing in. Okay, interesting. Wow, that is an even split. Okay, so we had about 266 respondents. Half said yes, you feel you have shared quality values that are consistently applied. That's awesome. Maybe we're a group of quality folks and it's a practice that you guys are doing a great job advancing. but then half are saying, not so consistently applied. So thank you, Dirk, for showing us the results of that poll. That's really interesting. I'd like to just talk a moment more before we hear from Hong. Why is a culture of quality so important? That is part of the premise of today's webinar, is that a culture of quality is more important now than ever. We have been hearing from many customers the pace of change is significant, and certainly their quality management system is helping them be agile and adapt to change. But there's other aspects of agility, which is decision-making and knowing that your team around you can make quick decisions and that those decisions will be consistent with company goals. So pace of change is certainly a reason that culture of quality is more important today than ever. Secondly, hiring. This is a war for talent, unlike what any of us have seen. It's difficult to hire people. It's more important than ever to retain people. And those that we have on our teams need to know how to behave and work in potentially hybrid work environments, the distributed nature of work today. So managing our people talent, more important than ever, retaining that talent, recruiting that talent. We must have consistent processes. Supply chain vulnerability can also upend our processes. And finally, it's more important than ever to address some of the consequences of poor quality and to really prevent poor quality for the impact to our businesses. More businesses are looking to make fundamental improvements in their financials today. There's more financial pressure. So we need to achieve top line goals by delivering quality products, delivering products on time, and then also being more efficient, reducing waste and scrap, having more efficient processes. So culture of quality is quite important today. My last remark has to do with the financials. Another study we wanted to cite, a Harvard Business Review magazine report in April 2014, did look at the financial impact of companies with a culture of quality and those without. A company with a highly developed culture of quality spends on average $350 million less annually fixing mistakes than a company with a poorly developed culture of quality. Now, of course, that's probably worth about $500 million in today's dollars. And you can see there are financial consequences of spending time fixing mistakes, dealing with rework, dealing with frustrated employees, and having to retain those folks. So the financial impact is a very important reason that culture of quality is more important today than ever. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to introduce the topic, and thank you so much, Hong, for joining us. And with that, I'm going to pass it to you.
All right, I'm gonna.
And as Hong's getting ready to share his screen there, just a reminder to all of you that if you have any questions, you can just mouse down toward the bottom of your screen down there. You'll see a Q&A button. You can click that Q&A button and that'll open up a Q&A box and you can send your questions to us and we will get to them as we have time at the end of the webinar. If we don't get to them, you'll be able to pass them, we'll pass them along, that is, to the speakers, and they'll be able to get back to you after the fact.
Well, thank you, Nina. Let's see. Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Can everyone hear me?
Yep. We hear you.
All right, excellent. Welcome and thank you, Nina, Dirk, and David, and Liz, and for all the work you've done to coordinate this event. The pleasure is mine to be here. I appreciate all the comment Nina had about Kaiser Aluminum and the culture. She and I had this discussion on this subject a number of years ago, and that has led to today's event. We at Kaiser, yes, we are passionate about the culture of quality, and we've been on this journey for over 20 years. However, I have to say that we are not the best, and I can't suggest that. And also, we are far from being perfect. We are not where we need to be. But I'm happy to be here to share what we have done. So hopefully that our experience and learnings could be of some reference value. This is a big subject, and it is very complex, involves many dimensions, and every company, every situation, every industry is different. So by no means this is the template everyone has to follow. And nevertheless, as I said, hope that it could be of some reference value. We all understand the importance of culture, and this is a clip I took off the internet, and I think it speaks for itself. A little bit about me. I won't dwell on this. Dirk had an introduction, and I would just say that I've been with Kaiser for over 20 years. Kaiser has 14 plants strategically located throughout North America, producing wrought aluminum alloys in various forms for these 4 major market segments. And we do that with about 3,800 employees. I have to start by give you a sense of the overall culture at Kaiser. No quality culture could exist in isolation. It must exist in an organizational context. This is a statement taken straight from our website. Says our quote, it mentions about the tone at the top, and that is embedded in our culture and to drive our behavior. The other statement I wanted to bring up to give everyone a sense is that integrity and ethics are at the heart of the tone at the top. They are part of our winning strategy. It's communicated throughout the organization. We want to win with integrity and ethics, with best-in-class quality and customer service. So what is best in class? This is the landing page of Kaiser's public website. It describes, I think it's succinctly described very well. It says what it is not. But what it is, it's superior quality products delivered on time. This is the guiding principle. This is what we talk about. It's embedded in our culture. Now, let's take a deeper dive to see what we have done our quality culture journey under that guiding principle. A quality culture has to be reflected in the results, because that's the purpose of having a culture and have a quality culture. Of course, that if that is not tied in with the results, it's less meaningful. So I'm going to try to describe our journey from 2 aspects. One is on the results, and I'm going to use a vital few metric. The other is to describe the mindset and paradigm that helped to drive us on that journey. So vital few is, to state simply, is just a few categories of quality concerns that are vital to us, to our business, to our name, to our brand, to our reputation. And the few just means that it's a few category, and we have a vital few rate. This is a polynomial curve fitting plotted through the points of our vital few rate metric over the last 20 years. We started this in 2001 when I joined the company. We started defining that metric and all the elements around it and the protocols. And 2002 is the first year we started having the full year data. Unfortunately, I could not show you the actual data points. For those that are statistically inclined, you might ask, how well does the curve fit the points? The R squared is 0.87, so moderately well in terms of fitting. Of course, R squared of 1 is a perfect fit of a curve through the data points. The vertical axis is the vital few rate. The unit is number of occurrences per billion pounds shipped. We have gone through, even though it's a smooth curve, it's not that smooth journey. And we've had some ups and downs, but I could describe that say, in 3 phases. From 2002 through 2005, we had an initial drop. One could say that's the result of establishing that metric. Then we regressed in 2006, but from 2006 to 2012, it continued to decline quickly. And from 2012 to now, I would say it's the latest phase or stage where we have plateaued. One may wonder that, say, hey, you do well, seem to have done well on the vital few, and then these are, as you said, just a few categories of major concerns. I could understand that, but these are maybe different than because it doesn't capture everything. What about all the other quality issues, the whole ball game? We didn't know this when we started this because we wanted to contain the risks initially. So we focused on the vital few, but we are pleasantly surprised that our claims, which captures almost everything, every issue that has caused an exchange of money, a change of money in hand, giving the money back to the customers, they track each other very well. Only in 3 years, 2008, 2012, and 2014, the vital fews and the claims moved in opposite directions a little bit. In all the other years, they moved in the same direction. It is, we didn't quite understand why, because the vital fews seem to be random events versus the claims that captures everything. Nevertheless, this is what it looks like. And so we may never understand, but I don't think we need to understand. That's our opinion. We just continue on the path. The second thing I want to describe is what really drove this magnitude of gain. And I would attribute that to the change of the mindset and the paradigm amongst our people at all levels on that journey. Zero vital few is no longer just a nice goal. I think every plant has achieved a zero vital few for at least 1, 2, or 3 years, or some even longer. Everyone has done it. Everyone believes they can do it, and everyone wants to be there. On that journey, that change of mindset also resulted in ourselves having greater confidence, awareness of risks, and we have greater rigor in what we do, and also caused us to focus special attention on special causes. That could be an entire separate discussion, but that's what we have experienced. So we've come a long way and learned lessons, and I'd like to share with you a few for the benefit of the audience here. Just our experience, and the first is that we have to have a simple metric to rally the organization around. Oh, that's for us. It's the vital few for us. And I would refer back to what Nina, one of Nina's slides about the definition of culture of quality, the share of the value. I think this simple metric might be one of the share of the value that everybody in the company needs to understand, and including sales, marketing, we all understand what the vital fews are. And the metric has to be simple. And this is our top metric. It has to be simple. and has to capture the vital few risks, and it has to be few. Because these days we have many metrics, we have many things to focus on. And if it is too complex, if it has many dimensions, it's very hard for people to stay focused on. So even though the quality is complex, we want to make it as if it's a it's a single dimension that people can rally around and can understand, can grab onto, which also captures the most significant risks. Now, there's a lot in the design of the metric. For us, it is based on occurrence. We don't care how much material is involved, how much money is involved. When it occurs, it's one occurrence, it counts as one occurrence, whether it's 1 pound, 1 piece, or not. Even if it goes to our internal customers, it still counts against the shipping plant. We don't care whether customers complain, as long as these conditions occur, have escaped us, it'll be counted. So there's a lot in the design of the metric where we encourage and discourage certain behaviors. One example would be that, well, I'll probably touch on this at a later stage. In terms of risk considerations, I would say just for Kaiser, we consider risks not only of a product concern in applications in the field. The risk considerations go way beyond that. Probably to some degree, the other considerations are more significant. We maintain transparency to the market. Big or small problems, we want customers to, we inform the customers, we want customers to make informed decisions. We don't make for them. And when we do that, we establish a trust in the marketplace with the customers. What we, one of my boss once said that it's like we take it on the chin. We go to the customer, we take it on the chin. But the trust, there's great trust being built up through that process. Nevertheless, it's not to say we just go to them, tell them. We have to manage the communication and containment very carefully, and that in itself is a big task. The complexity involved is hard to describe. It involves many people, many different departments, and careful coordination. It's a huge task. Now, if that is not done well, if we make, there are temptations. I could tell you that. And when if that is not done well, then potentially there could be damage to our BIS understanding, best in class, and the erosion of the trust, and also sends really bad message to the organization. Cultural cue, and if this is not done, this is not done well. Maintaining the integrity and the consistency of the metric is important for the credibility. Because if the credibility is lost, then it's hard to go on with this metric. At Kaiser, vital few is like the main cord, quality cord will pull on. That while everything else is like the net attached to the cord. So we pull on this cord. But if the credibility of this metric is lost, it's very hard to continue, and also very hard to restart. So it is critical to communicate and engage stakeholders and be very careful about making exceptions and setting precedents. It can be eroded very quickly. I may say that as quality professionals, we need to be careful about that. There will be challenges and there will be temptations. I've had both, but we need to be very careful and think of the integrity and the consistency and the credibility of the metric, because we're using the metric to pull us forward and build other elements around. Be fact-based, logical, consistent, and persistent. The last one bullet is a part of our metric design. We have no expiration date. What does that mean is if a vital few is not reported, was not reported or underreported, and it was discovered years later, it is recorded as a vital few. In the month it is discovered. There are no expiration dates, no incentives to try to underreport. We take it on the chin in the marketplace. We also take it on the chin internally. The culture is most tested and most vulnerable during tough times, challenging times, either in a downswing or upswing, or when there are a lot of changes. But these are also the times that the culture can maybe the best time to reinforce culture. And these are the times also you need a strong culture to help you with quality. This might, I'll just expand a little bit because 2022, because of the pandemic and all the issues that we've had, the change of workforce, the supply chain issues, and I think there are a lot of changes. And we all know when changes occur, whether it's upswing or downswing, they bring a lot of risks because we are forced to shuffle things, do things differently. And so these times are more challenging for culture. As I said, also they are the best time to reinforce culture, and they are also the times you need the culture the most. During those times, just be aware of the risks of our decisions and actions. We have to do a lot of things differently, and we have to recognize that those decisions and actions can bring risks to quality and the culture, and we have to take actions to mitigate. Be conscious of long-term implications, not only during tough times, but during tough times, it's the most likely to happen. Just be aware of the long-term implications of good intentions and harmless decisions. Be very protective, because once you start on a slippery slope, it's very difficult to get back up. The culture, once damaged, while it can be rebuilt, it becomes more difficult. Put your money where your mouth is. Vital few is one of the metrics that we use in the evaluation of annual award. Very few of our plants can get to the Circle of Excellence Award, although they are lower level of awards to encourage the plants. But vital few is one of the metrics. And for multiple plants, it's one and done. They get one vital few escape, they can't get the full Circle of Excellence Award. And we've had plants that fell off because of that. The vital few rate is also factored in profit sharing calculations for our people at all levels, down to the people on the floor levels. And we also reward people for capturing deal misses. We did execute a lot of other things along the way, but I would say they are more the results. I mean, they helped to reinforce the culture, and they helped us to achieve the gains. I would say they are more like the results of the mindset that have changed, the results of the culture. They can reinforce the culture, but I think they themselves alone may not achieve the culture the gains in the culture that we want. So the decisions in vital few determination, as I say, the consistency, integrity in managing the metric, the transparency, and the responsiveness to the marketplace, the rigorous internal actions, especially during challenging times, either downswing or upswing, as well as a reward system, I think send strong cultural cues to the organization. I know we communicate messages in word and in actions. I think that they need to be consistent. The cues of our decisions, what we say or what is not said, could be very strong signals. And oftentimes they can have stronger effects than the verbal messages. But we need to do both. We've made some gains, as you saw in the vital few chart, but we don't talk about diminishing returns, and we've plateaued in the last decade. One might say you've done well, but I think in our culture, we don't talk about something has reached the level of diminishing returns, because quality and quality culture can't stand still. It won't stand still. So we are continuing into the next phase. This is the chart that you've seen, and to mentally and visually change how we look at this. What we did is we changed the scale. We changed from linear to a log scale, and the reason we did that is to exaggerate that last decade. That we have plateaued and we've had more variations than on log scale chart than you would have seen on the linear scale chart. I think the next phase is not just this. We have more things that we have to contend with, and I think that what we are faced with are that many of a substantial portion of the total vital few events are what have never happened, and we didn't know that would happen. So I think, how do we deal with these that they could happen, yet they have never happened, and they probably will, once they happen, they probably won't happen for another 10, 20 years. If we can't get at those, we will still stay plateaued. And I think that the mental block initially is probably the biggest block. We have to get over the mental block to get at those that have never happened. And the question that we all ask is, the statement we are not to say is, we didn't know, nobody knew, because no customers cares. The question we should ask is, how come we didn't catch it? We may not be able to prevent it, but how come we didn't catch it? We let it get away from us. And now there are various things we have tried, and we've been successful in some instances to capture these things, random things that, as I say, never happened before and probably won't happen for another 20 years. Nevertheless, we were able to catch it. And I think that when we get over the mental block, the people with the right mindset will go out and seek practical, creative ways to achieve what we want to achieve. And as I've fortunately found out that many times, these creative things are not that complex and don't cost a lot of money. They're very practical. So the next phase, this is our next phase. We want to get off that plateau and get better. I want to just return to a couple of slides to describe a couple of other things to give everybody a sense of the larger context as culture permeates everywhere. This is the quality vital few chart, and this is the safety. The two dotted lines are safety metrics, TCIR and LCIR. You would one would think safety and quality are very different things. The other thing is a story I want to share that Kaiser does offer what we call Kaiser Select. It's a very differentiated product offerings which can meet some unique customer requirements. They are not defined in industry specifications. When we first started this, I think we made progress, but we made a lot of products, a lot, not a small amount, that met the industry specifications, but did not meet the Kaiser Select internal requirements. Of course, there were a lot of debates as to what to do. We could regrade them. It's easy to do. In fact, the customers got the wind of this and they say, hey, we would be more than happy to buy. So our final decision is that they didn't meet our internal standards. We're not selling it because we started with the intention of making them select products, but we didn't meet the specs, didn't meet the internal requirements. They're gone. And the decision was made more probably for establishing the internal culture. What cue, it sent strong cultural cues to the organization. But that's what we did. Another bit of facts about context from 2006 through 2019, our adjusted EBITDA doubled and the EBITDA margin grew by 50% in the same period. I just have one slide on ETQ. It provides a lot of benefit. I would just comment on the last one. When we have challenging times, either upswing or downswing, we are forced to do different things, and we have people, new people, a lot of turnovers and new people coming in. Supply chains forced us to change our process very quickly. And so if you have a system like ETQ, you could have the agility to keep up with those changes in your quality system. And we all know that making changes to make sure the system keeps up with the process changes is not easy. But when you have a digital system like ETQ, you can do that. Of course, that's under the assumption that people we embrace it, we use it. What about the role of systems, methodologies, technologies, and tools? I think these are all important on our journey, and we need them on our journey to help us achieve. However, I would say ultimately, it's still the people who control and execute every phase of them. So people's mindset, what they believe in, the value they share, we drive them to find ways and develop what's necessary, deploy what's necessary and practical, and do them well, effectively, or otherwise. So that concludes my slides, and I just want to say again, thanks for the audience and for this opportunity, and thanks to ETQ and Quality Digest to give this opportunity. One additional comment I want to make about ETQ is I think we use ETQ, and ETQ I think is genuinely interested in quality, in promoting the value of quality to the community. Because as you can see in the whole presentation, I have only one slide and a very short comment on that. So very much appreciate that and appreciate the opportunity. And I look forward to questions and answers to also learn from the others. So Lena, I'll turn back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Han. That was terrific. And we've got some great questions coming from the audience. Actually, one of the things I was going to ask you to comment on a little bit more, and it is a question from the audience, is wanting to get a better understanding of the vital few. So initially, can you tell us a little bit about, how are the vital few, how do you see them as being different than traditional business metrics? We all have metrics we have to attain, and we all know that metrics are important, but in your program, I think people want to have a better understanding of how are the vital few different, and I know some of the vital few measurements are confidential, but can you give perhaps sort of a general example of what a vital few metric might be like?
I just want to focus on one thing. I know a few other companies where they measure, they call excursions, and they focus really heavily on excursions, and would say excursions might be similar to our vital few, but the huge difference is that excursions are usually based on quantity, exposure, and the financial dollars. And we don't. We measure occurrence, regardless the scope, the size, whether customers complain, as I said, whether it went to an external customer or internal. I would say that's probably one big difference in our vital few metric. And there are a lot of reasons for doing that. I'll just touch on one. When a product concern is out there in the field, whether it becomes a $10 million, $1 billion issue, or it's a one-piece issue, none of that is within our control. Once it leaves us, it travels. It travels to many different other customers and downward. So how soon that condition is discovered, how containable is that condition? What do customers do with the product? None of that is within our control. So why do we focus on only the ones that became big when we should be focusing on all of them? Because very rarely an issue became an excursion because it's happening the first time. It hasn't happened before. It wasn't too big. It didn't catch the attention. So our attention is realizing that the first time it happens, we record it, we'll give the full attention to it as if it is a big excursion, because it has the potential to be one, instead of when it becomes one.
Very interesting. Thank you. Han, before we open it up, I'm going to ask you for one other comment, please. On one of your slides, you said culture is tested. It's tested a little more during challenging times. Why is culture of quality, developing a culture of quality today more important than ever? Do you believe it's more important now than ever? And if so, is this something that people should be taking away and using as a motivator to get this done?
I fully agree. I think one needs the quality culture even more during tough times, because when it is being tested, it is being challenged, and somewhat like that. It's a period that it is most likely to fall, and yet when the culture can get stronger through that period. Because if a culture can't survive the tough times, I don't think it is there.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to invite David to be our moderator for the Q&A. While we're doing that, we ask that you take a look at a poll. Dirk is going to post a poll. If you don't have a culture of quality today, what's the primary obstacle? Please pick one, and you don't have to answer it immediately. Take your time, because we will open up to questions now, and then we'll read the results of the poll at the very end.
Very
David.
good. Thank you. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Hong. That was extremely interesting, and we have lots of questions. And so I wanted to start with one that got asked over and over again in the questions by lots of people, and in some of the pre-questions that were asked, is how do you get management and your CEO and the whole organization committed to a culture of quality? And I'll turn that to you, Hong.
I see a poll question on my screen.
Yeah, Hong, we're just going to leave that poll question up for people to answer in the in the background there. Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, I was a little bit confused. David, can you
Yeah, sure.
I guess we need a culture of quality here.
Yeah. But yeah, so the question that came in, I said multiple times from different members of the audience, and even in the pre-questions, is how do I get my management, how do I get my CEO on down to really support implementing and keeping alive a culture of quality?
Again, I can only speak from my own experience. I think every company has its tone at the top. One may argue that every company has the messages and the guiding principles, and not here to question the messages themselves and whether the decisions are consistent with the messages. But I think with that message, with the tone at the top, as quality professionals, we could build something up under that. And that's, I think, somewhat of what I did. I started with this vital few metric. I think, again, it's my limited experience. I think you have to have a metric. You build a metric, you establish the definition, the protocol and everything, and then get to the top management to buy in, get them to agree, and then have to follow that. And there will be challenges, there will be temptations. But I think once everything is well defined, the top management has approved of that. It could be communicated to the entire organization and train the entire organization, including sales and marketing. But the metric has to be simple and has to capture, very importantly, the most vital few risks, the threats to the company. And it's very hard for anyone to deny that, to say no. Once that's established and then start run with it, there will be times when there will be a lot of pressure, challenges, because decisions will have to be made. Does this count as an occurrence? And why not? Why it should be? So when you establish a protocol, a metric, and then protocol, then you have something to go to say, hey, this is what we agreed, and we agree these things capture vital few threats to the company, and this is what we ought to do, so we ought to follow that. I'm not, by no means, I'm saying it is easy. I probably lost friends along the way, gained more along the way as well, and I think more people are believing than before. But that's okay. I think that's, as a quality professionals, I know that we have to pick the fights, pick the right fights, and we can't be fighting battles across all front. And if there's one I will pick, it will be the vital few. The way I'll pick the battle, and we have to hold the line because we've already established what the protocol. I would say for quality professionals, this might not make many friends, Many times our fault ourselves. We made exceptions. We made things convenient. But once we start that, it's very hard to go back. You set the precedent and you are on a slippery slope. And a small precedent, it can only grow bigger. It never gets smaller. That's how we get on a slippery slope. So I think that establishing something concrete, quantifiable, and captures most significant risk and threats to our name, to the company, would be something to start. And then you build the quality culture around that metric. You use the metric, as I said, as the core. Not only addresses the vital few risks, but also we can use that as the main cord to pull the rest of things along. As I said, this is a complex subject. Quality involves many elements and many dimensions, and yet I want to make it as simple, single dimension as possible so that the organizations can understand. And they may not know that there are other elements that get pulled along, but the rigor, the discipline, the culture that we establish on vital few can permeate through the main cord to the other parts. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but that's the best I could come up with.
No, that's great. Thank you, Hong. And then staying on the vital few, Larry asked a question about your implementation of ETQ. How long ago did you implement that? How long did it take? And what's been the greatest impact on your vital few from ETQ?
I think Kaiser, the way of implementation is a little bit unique, so it probably is not a good example. Yeah. Kaiser's plants have a lot of autonomy. There are very few things that are forced down to the plants, and our plants are also very different, from hundreds of people, thousands of people, to 30 people, because each plant is uniquely focused on making certain things. So our implementation is not like a mandate. It's a choice given to the plants. So it's only the parts the plants want to implement at the time they want to do it. So I would say, personally, I would say I wish that the ETQ would be more deployed across the board, but that's not how it works. And I think that what I've noticed is there are surprises. Some plants and some people just embrace it like in a week, and others just don't seem to do that, or they are not ready yet. And the biggest gains would be that it's just another tool that is available, and I think many did embrace, and we did speed things up, and we had better communication. And if you go back to that slide, the availability of the data, so we can make decisions quicker, and the way we use the workflow to help facilitate the communications, because keeping paper is very difficult to keep track of. So the ETQ is, especially a lot of different modules are dual linked, and that is very big advantage for us, making things making it so much easier to look up things and to know the history. And as I also said on the slide, this helps to establish continuity in organizational knowledge, best practices. in keeping the history, because when you do a paper system, a lot of these things are lost when people turn over and leave.
Right. All right. And I just one little final question here before we wrap up, really quick. Hopefully that you've got this culture of quality focused really on Kaiser, but have you also tried to expand it or looking to expand it to your supply chain? And that's a question from Charles.
We have not, and we don't have a big supply chain. We just buy aluminum and some alloy elements, and we do have a lot of other service suppliers. I would be honest, we have not tried to push this to our supply chain yet.
Okay. And I think we've reached the top of the hour, and I'd like to thank Hong and Nina both for this very informative webinar, and I'll turn it back over to Dirk.
Thanks, guys. That was a very informative webinar. Thanks a lot, Hong. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share your experience with building the quality of culture at Kaiser Aluminum. Some good lessons there for us. And also thanks, Nina and David, for your part in the presentation too. Great job, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Hong.
Thank
Dirk,
you.
would you show the
Bye.
poll?
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. Yeah, the poll results. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. We also have some resources here. Okay. Yep. Number one reason, those who do not have a culture of quality, the 50% presumably, we say we care about quality, but we do not have executive team to support. So kind of comes down to getting people aligned around common language and quality values, and that starts at the top.
Yep.
Yep. Well, I want to just thank everyone for joining us, and especially thank Hong for this wonderful presentation. It was a pleasure, and there are more resources available to you, and then of course this webinar will be available for you to share with your colleagues or perhaps watch it again.
Yeah, and I wanted to, a little something about that. So about 24 hours from now, so about this time tomorrow, all of you who registered will be getting a link in an email from Quality Digest with a recording of this webinar. So keep your eyes out for that email. It'll be about this time tomorrow. So that is it. So thanks to all of you for joining us, Hong, Nina, David, and for all of you out there. Thanks, and we will be seeing you at the next webinar. So long.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.